Hey, what's up, folks? Lex here, Latasha there, Married Movie Reviews. Today we're going to be doing a Q&A, and since we don't have a lot of regular viewers on the channel yet, we actually took some questions from Facebook, and also we came up with a couple of questions ourselves. Basically, we wanted to know this of each other, so figured that would work too. So the first question comes from Tom, aka Zeus. He wants to know the It miniseries or the It 2017. And I will say, before we get into this question, we have to obviously say the caveat that the 2017 version of It doesn't go through the whole story. The miniseries does. The miniseries basically does it in 3 hours, whereas 2017 It had a 2-hour film with just the kids so far. Obviously that movie will be out sometime next year, I believe, and we can get into it more then, but what do you think? I'm the Stephen King guy here. She's not a big
clowns.
She has a fear of clowns, so what do you think, having seen both of them, but she has not read the book? So
I haven't, not yet, because you're taking your sweet time reading it. I see really good things from both. I like that the character of It in the miniseries, he's so much creepier to me than the Pennywise of 2017. And I don't know if that's the costuming, the fact that they're not trying too hard with him, and I feel like maybe with the newer version of him, they're trying a little too hard.
Could it be like a childhood thing going on? Like you saw the older one while you were a child, so maybe that has psychological effects.
I've literally never seen the miniseries until recently.
Right, but you've seen the image.
Oh, that type of a clown. Well, and also I think that's the clown of childhood. The 2017 It is more like Elizabethan with his outfit and not of this era. So I feel like that kind of takes out of it a little bit.
Yeah.
But I love the acting of the kids in the 2017. They did so well. So
which is it? Which would you prefer? If you had to watch another one again.
Thinking just about the miniseries up to when they, switched to the adult point of view, and then looking at 2017 It. For the scare factor and the creep factor, miniseries, but overall for visuals and the way that they've done the story, I'm going to go with 2017 It.
Okay. I have actually read the book, and I'm rereading the book right now, and I've seen the miniseries several times over, and I've seen the 2017 version a couple times now. For me, I don't hate the 2017 version. I don't hate it, but I don't feel like it's as genuine so far to the book as the miniseries was. The miniseries pulled dialogue straight out of the book. I mean, you can actually go into the book and match it up. And also, I felt like 2017 version kind of omitted certain scenes that were important to the kids bonding. I felt like even though the 2017 version is over 2 hours long, I don't feel like they spent a whole lot of time on the kids bonding. Rather, they just went and showed maybe the kids by themselves, what they're afraid of, and then the final big battle scenes.
That is true. They did flesh that out a lot better in the miniseries.
Yeah, I felt like the kids in the miniseries were bonding a lot better than the ones in the 2017. I don't think the acting was bad in 2017. I don't think the acting was bad in the miniseries either. And I think a lot of people point to special effects when they give the edge to the 2017 version, but I actually was turned off by a lot of the CGI that they did.
I don't like it.
So, yeah, I admit the miniseries has a lot of effects that are that's obviously low budget.
But also, when was that made?
It was made in the late 80s and it aired in 1990, I think.
So there you go.
So, and they were also, that's another thing, the miniseries was aired on network TV, so they had to adhere to that. we're talking about a Stephen King book, and there's a lot of messed up stuff that happens in that book. And so they couldn't say or do a lot of the stuff that was so shocking about the book. 2017 version could, and yet at the same time, I don't feel like, I don't know, I just didn't feel like it connected to the book very well. It's someone's take on the story rather than a faithful adaptation. And I think what really, and we'll move on, I know I could go on and on and on about this, but I think what really made me upset was before I saw it, I read a lot of articles and heard a lot of people saying, oh, it's so much like the book, it's so much like the book, and then you watch it and it's like, what are you talking about? I mean, characters have different siblings that they live with, and there's a whole bunch of different things in this 2017 version that I didn't care for. I like it, I can watch it, but I think the miniseries for me is more special. But we'll have to see what they do with Chapter 2, because maybe they can do that better and balance it out.
Valid.
That's my thought, at least.
This question came from the same person. Favorite movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe? Which, this is going to be fun for me to hear your answer.
Okay, so disclaimer, because this was a big deal on Facebook when the question was asked. I've only seen like 3 or 4 of the Marvel movies, okay? I don't care about superheroes. I don't care about them. There's genres or subjects that we don't find interesting and we don't want to see movies on them. Like, I'm sure you don't want to watch a lot of Western movies, right? You just have no interest in Western films, right? So I'm kind of that way with superhero films. I find them all cheesy and they're all kind of doing a similar thing but with a different, costume. And you could say that about horror and stuff like that too. It's just totally a thing of mine. I don't care for it. But I will say that Guardians of the Galaxy was my favorite of the ones I've seen. And I wouldn't have seen Guardians of the Galaxy if we weren't seeing every single film that came out back in 2014. And I wouldn't have seen Ant-Man if it weren't for my son and we needed something to do. So we went to the movie theater and that was playing, so we went there. Like, literally, most of these films I would not see unless there was like something else involved. So, but
like
I did,
viewing?
Yeah, exactly. But I did like Guardians of the Galaxy. I thought it was very well written, well acted. I thought the CGI in it was good, and it was funny. So I think that would probably win by a long shot, even if I saw everything else. That's my opinion, at least, because it was like the least corny of everything that I've seen so far.
Remind me, have you seen Volume 2?
No.
Okay. Interesting.
Yours?
So I have seen every single one.
Ooh, big man over here. Seen every single one. Go ahead.
I hadn't seen them all until very recently. I had seen Iron Man 2, Incredible Hulk, and that was like it. I saw the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man movies, but those aren't, part of this
Yeah, and that's
universe.
another thing. There's like a whole bunch of movies that are Marvel, but they aren't of the MCU. Whatever. Go ahead.
I did see Black Panther when it came out in the theater and really liked it and knew that the newest Avengers Infinity War was coming out soon. So I decided that I was going to watch all of the movies starting at the beginning. So I watched them all in order, not the order that people say you should watch everything in so that it fits the timeline, but I actually watched them in theatrical release order. I did not include the television series that are out. I watched strictly just the movies and watched them all so that I could go see Infinity War in the theater. And I think that the Avengers films for me are kind of at the top in general, just because I like what's the word? Lots of people come together. Why am I drawing a blank?
The crossover?
Well, yeah, but like, the crossover is cool, especially then when you get to see their individual movies and see them in their specific story, and then they come back together for another one. Collaboration is still not the word that I'm looking for, but for me, I think that Black Panther is really good, but I put Infinity War just above it. And I have to say, I love that the end credit scenes all tie into another movie, whether it's one that's coming out or has been out for a while, and just ties it together in a perfect little way. And for anybody who hasn't yet seen it, Ant-Man and the Wasp, definitely stay for the end credit scene.
So the next question came from Rick, and he wants to know, what popular film did we either not care for or just didn't bother to see? Go ahead and go first on this one.
So many. Like, I actually couldn't even think of anything until I had him start naming stuff. And I was like, oh yeah, no. So, I can't even pick one. Because you had a good point. Name a genre.
Pick one. Pick one.
Pick one what? A genre?
No, pick one movie.
Oh, one movie. He told me this was a cop-out. Star Wars. The, what's even the newest one called?
Any of them?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the same. I didn't want to say it either because it's like, I could say the Star Wars franchise. I don't care about any of them. I saw the first one, bored me to tears. You know, Marvel movies, I could say the same thing. Like, I don't care to see any of them or whatever, and they're super popular. Everybody wants to see them. I'm going to go with a genre film, though, and I think this film is an okay film. Like, you know, quality-wise, it's fine. It's just, I don't buy why so many people are afraid of a shark in the water. So Jaws, to me, is just one of those films that I don't get. I don't get it.
Just don't go in the water.
Well, I mean, you know, you could say that about a lot of different horror films. Just don't go to the hotel.
Yes,
just don't
exactly.
do that. But I'm saying,
Because people are dumb.
well, people do stuff, right?
You don't go
you
up
wanna
the
go
stairs.
You want to go camping where we can be killed in the middle of the woods, right? So I mean, it's just people do stuff, right? They go to the beach or
But
whatever.
we're not living in a horror film.
Anyway, so, you know, we don't live by the beach. Maybe that's part of it. It's like I have no fear of the water, you know, no shark's going to come get me personally. I can see, like, if you lived in Southern California, like, on the beach, and that movie came out, you could be, like, really, really scared of it. I don't know, but it just, to me, it doesn't do anything for me. It's one of those few horror films that I really don't care for, so.
Is it classified as a horror?
I mean, yeah, horror, suspense, thriller, in that world. So that's mine, at least.
Favorite video game?
Movie.
Yeah, but it was phrased much more eloquently. It wasn't just favorite video game movie. It was favorite video game.
Adaptation.
Sure. So, what's yours?
I don't know if I have one. I'm going to go ahead and say the one that everybody hates. It's the first one, really, that kind of came along. I mean, there's been movies that, you know, involve video games, right? But this is the first one that was based off of a video game. That's Super Mario Brothers. This
That's
movie,
cheesy.
it does very little to connect to the actual games. But I feel like the games at that point, like, what were you going to do? What were you going to make a movie out of? From Mario running along. Like, they did what they could, and I know that the filming of that movie was just littered with, you know, all these kinds of problems, and most people had a miserable time making the film, and Bob Hoskins was drunk most of the time, you know, playing Mario, as was John Leguizamo. But I do like it. I like watching it. I think it's got a lot of charisma. Dennis Hopper as King Koopa is like awesome because he's like the ultimate villain. Everything he's in, he's like super villain to the max. Except for Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, which he's actually the hero in. I won't go into that though, I could. But you know, just I don't know, I like it. It's super cheesy, it's dumb, but it doesn't make any sense to the actual games, but it's got a lot of charisma. Like, they didn't take it that seriously. and I appreciate it for that, I guess. So what about you?
So I will admit that I don't play a whole lot of video games. I will watch him play them, but I really like the Resident Evil movies. I think it's just like the topic, the subject matter, like, you know, who doesn't like zombie-ish things? But I also really like Tomb Raider. That's actually a game that I have played.
Now, which one?
I'm getting to that. So I liked the original two movies with Angelina Jolie as Lara Croft, but my understanding is that it doesn't really have anything to do with any of the games that were out around that time.
That's a common theme with with these movies.
So, but I did see the newest incarnation of Lara Croft Tomb Raider, and I was really confused at first because it's like, where is the badass girl that we know and love? And then realized that it's just the beginning, so it shows kind of her evolution, and the end is when she's got her trademark braid and she's getting her two guns, and so you know that it's setting it up for the next one to kind of go into that a little bit more. So if I had to choose one over the other, I would still say Resident Evil.
All right, so this next question I came up with, and I think it's a very interesting question because I think you can tell a lot of a person by what they answer with this. What is your favorite film decade? Meaning, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000 to 2010 or 2009 or whatever, or this modern decade that we're in. What is your favorite? What decade has the most films that you like in it, or the style of films that were made then?
I mean, I can answer it kind of two different ways. I was born in the late 80s, so I grew up with the movies of the 90s. So those, hold a soft spot in my heart and always will, because again, that's what I grew up with, so that's what I was used to. But as I have gotten older and can appreciate the technological advances, the special effects that they can do these days, I feel like 2000 to 2009, I guess we're saying, is when that started kind of increasing. But even in the last 8 years, it's gotten even better. But if I had to pick one, I'd say the 90s.
I am actually going to go with the same answer, the 90s.
Okay, now what does this say about me?
Well, I'm glad you answered this. This is good. This is good. I think what it says is that, there are a lot of good films made now. Not saying that there aren't, but I think a lot of the films back in the 90s had a lot less to work with. So a lot of the sentiment of those movies kind of shine through. Kitty! So like the 70s and the 80s, I think you kind of have more of more domestic films being made, more films about family.
I don't know, there were a lot of cop movies then.
Yeah, there were a fair amount of cop movies and stuff like that. But the 80s, they kind of tried to go over the top with everything. Everything was super sci-fi or super violent, or...
There's also some really great movies from the 80s.
No, there is. I'm not saying that... I mean, there's great movies from every decade.
Yeah.
That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, the 90s kind of explored relationships and characters a little bit more, and they weren't as shallow, maybe as today's films are. I mean, some of these films today are, deep explorations into characters, and we've seen a couple already. This past couple years. But I don't know. To me, the 90s just had a lot of exploration into characters that we had never really seen before. And I think the 70s did the same thing too. So I think the 70s and 90s are actually very similar. And then the 80s, they just turned it up all the way as high as they could and went crazy. And we got films like RoboCop and all that kind of stuff. Which I love RoboCop, by the way. I don't know. That's my thoughts on it. I'm a 90s kind of person too. Like I said, there's a lot of domestic, family-centered films, both good and bad, in the sense of exploring kids movies that were really, really good, and then adult movies about families that were really, really good too. So.
So to kind of sub-question on this, if you had to pick a favorite, do you have one?
A favorite what?
A favorite movie from that decade?
I'm not gonna spoil that yet. We'll have that in another video or something like that. So.
Good to know.
All right. So the next question is, and this is mine as well, and I want to know this because she doesn't like this genre very much. What is your favorite horror film of all time?
So I have to know if you are wanting specific to...
No, just horror film. Could be.
But I mean, can it be like a thriller or a suspense?
Or anything where someone's about to die, pretty much, or you feel dread or suspense in any way. Sure. Someone's being malicious towards another person. They want them to die.
I feel like the answer that I want to say is like super cheesy, but I have a reason behind it. So what I find the scariest are things that could be real. So, well, like Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th, those are, scary. I know that there's not really some evil thing that's going to come to me in my dreams and kill me in my sleep sort of thing. I know that that's not really going to happen. Oh, geez. But what freaks me out are the more like psychological thriller type things and things that, you sit back and realize like that could actually happen. Things similar have happened. Sure. And even though they've totally taken it to a cheeseball place, the Saw movies, because there are sick, twisted people out there who could actually do that. So that's something that kind of freaks me out because it's like you never know if that could happen.
And I will testify that out of all the horror movies, those are the ones that she actually actively says she wants to watch, rather than just like.
Which is weird to me because if that's what scares me the most, why? Maybe it's that whole face your fears thing.
I don't know. I get what you're saying though. Humans are the deadliest things, And I'm going to be real quick with this because I'm sure I'll talk about it even more, to a deeper extent. I have.
Oh.
You see this right here? That's The Exorcist. This is my favorite shirt, by the way. It feels nice. But this is not my favorite horror movie. The Shining is my favorite horror movie. I think it's the best horror movie ever made. And potentially, and again, I haven't sat down and ranked them out, but that could be my favorite film of all time. I think it's shot for shot. It's so perfectly made. And then you get into the whole conspiracy things, what was it really saying, and all that kind of stuff is very interesting. But obviously, to me, that's just the tops right there. It's smart, it's scary, both on a psychological level and a surface level. So to me, that's number one for me. And I'll talk about that probably in a separate video because I could talk all day about The Shining and how it scared me as a child because I saw it at a young age and all that kind of stuff. So, and also, versus the book and all that kind of stuff, which I think the film is so much better than the book. It's ridiculous. But again, talk about that some other time.
So this is my question, and I feel like you just answered it. But the question is, what is your favorite book turned movie?
You think I answered it?
Sort of, because you just said that. Well, maybe not, because you said that The Shining movie is way better than the book. Mm-hmm. So I guess that wouldn't. So
with this question, what I did was I kind of thought about, what movie closely follows the book and captures the same exact spirit as the book without taking too many liberties. And like I said, that doesn't mean that this is the greatest film ever or the greatest book ever, but I think side by side, you could read the book, then watch the movie and feel like, okay, they obviously read the book and they obviously wanted to do it justice. So it's not it either, by the way. That might be, I like that book more than this book I'm about to talk about, but I got it right here, actually.
My guess is it's a Stephen King book.
You're correct, because I pretty much only read Stephen King or biographies, but it's Dolores Claiborne. There we go. So,
That is a creepy ass movie.
let me put this back real quick and I'll talk. So the reason that I really think they did a good job of this is pretty much on Kathy Bates. Because for those who haven't read the book, basically what it is the whole book is one person talking. Like there's no real dialogue between two people. There is, but it's of this person like explaining this story. So she's explain. I guess there is dialogue from the people she's in the room with at the time or whatever. But for the most part, it's just her talking. It's her telling the story, and she's got a heavy Maine accent, and it's fun to read, and it's a really crazy story, a crazy domestic story. It's grounded in reality. There's no supernatural things to it really. So I think they did a really good job of making this movie, and actually, Castle Rock Productions did this movie. Castle Rock is Rob Reiner's movie company, and he named it Castle Rock after the town in Stephen King's book. So it kind of all gels together, and the movie, although it's kind of an alarming watch if you've never seen it before, it's very jarring. It's so well acted that I could watch it over and over again, even though the subject material is terrible. But the actors in it, you got Christopher Plummer in there, and John C. Reilly's in it, and Jennifer Jason Leigh, and they all do just a fantastic job. So, but you are a bookworm, so I'm interested to open Pandora's box here and see what you say on this one.
To steal your phrase, I could talk all day.
Yes.
So
This video is already very long, so we'll see what you have to say here.
So I've tried to think just in general, like what's a book that I love that they made a movie of, and then realized that I can't really do that because, like you were just saying about books that translate really well to the movie, because you can tell that the screenwriters or whomever part of the film actually read the books and, you know, were part of it. Trying to then think about that kind of makes it a little tougher. I'm a huge fan of the Harry Potter series. I like the movies, but I don't at the same time, because they could have done so much better. And I get that with a 2-hour movie that, you know, is being adapted from a 700-page book, stuff has to be left out. But I personally, as a fan, feel like they left stuff out that shouldn't have been left out, and think that it would have been so much better as, like, a TV show. You know, each book is a season or something like that, to where they could really dive deeply into the characters and the story and, you know, touch all those little things. And then there are other book to movie adaptations like the Divergent series. The first one does pretty good, then the second one, I'm wondering what book they read. Because
I just gave up. They're like, whatever. They're not paying attention.
And
anyway.
what's really weird is that the author was, like, involved. She was, like, on this, like, I don't get it. But, whatever. Maze Runner is kind of similar. The first one is pretty good. The second one, it kind of goes off.
So what's the one, though?
Hunger Games. I'm really...
The first one?
Yeah. And of the series of those movies, the first one is not my favorite, but I feel like they did it really well page to screen. And like you were saying, there are some scenes where you can like follow along, same thing. That dialogue is taken directly out of the book. So I think that they did a really good job, even though again there are things that were left out, little storylines or characters that they couldn't include. So therefore in later films they have to kind of switch it, and instead of this character that happens in the whole series, they have somebody else kind of be that character in addition to their other character, just to kind of have less people involved, I guess. I don't really know what their thought process was. Mm-hmm. But so I would have to say Hunger Games, the first one. And the final question. I am very excited for this one. In addition to hating some of the things he hates, we're going to include musicals.
I hate musicals. I don't understand them at all.
So I want to know, what is your favorite musical?
Well, this is a very weird question to answer because, I don't like musicals at all. I hate when people just break into song. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it's funny. Like in Clerks 2, they break out into a song and it's very heartwarming. It doesn't make sense, but they do it in any way, and I guess it just kind of works. But like, I don't know, we watch The Greatest Showman and it's just like, here's dialogue, and then they break into a musical, and they do some more dialogue, and then they break into another musical, and it fits in some scenes because that's what they did, and then in others it's just like they're doing it for fun now, and it's
But
like
part
what?
of one of the issues when you're watching a musical is you have to watch it. You can't be like looking around and doing other things just because
I didn't watch it.
No, because there were certain things that you were like, wait, what just happened? Like, did you not see that whole scene? Like, he joined the railroad and
No,
now
I
he's
don't
grown-
think.
like,
No, that wasn't very clear at all. It wasn't. No, we could talk about that all day long. Anyway, so what I'm doing here is I'm actually bringing in another kind of genre. I wouldn't call it a genre, but a category that I don't like. I'm bringing in the Disney category because it grew up on these movies, so in some way I do like them. I just don't want to watch them at regular pace, where I have to hear the song over and over again. But Aladdin, I think, has the best songs, the most upbeat songs, and I don't know, they're very catchy.
Okay, I'm gonna stop you right there. Disney movies have songs, but they are not classified as musicals.
No, they're musicals.
No.
Yes.
No.
If you have more than 2 musical acts, then you are a musical.
Okay.
That's just the rule that I just made up just now. That's the rule. Okay? I mean, that doesn't make sense. What is it then?
Like Mary Poppins would be considered a musical.
Okay, so because it's animated, it can't be a musical? I don't understand. Like,
Moulin Rouge is a musical because as they're like...
exactly. The only difference is
But
that
it's
it's
not-
animated. They're
It's
all...
not classified as a
Everybody's
musical.
dancing out of nowhere. They're singing about the story. It is what it is. Come on. You guys got to back me up on this. These are musicals. I mean, A Bug's Life is not a musical, right? Because it doesn't have a bunch of dance numbers in it. But a film like Aladdin or Beauty and the Beast or, whatever you throw in the wash, The Lion King.
So I just Googled, is Aladdin a musical? And it says, there is Aladdin the musical based on the 1992 Disney animated film of the same name. So that makes me think no. Unless
We
you've
don't-
seen the stage show, which we kind of
Well,
did.
hold on now. If they take the songs directly from the movie and then put them on the stage, all of a sudden it's a musical. But because it's animated, it's not a musical? No, that's not true. The rule is more than 2 musical numbers,
The
it's
rule
a
that
musical.
you just made up.
Yes, that's right.
Okay.
Anyway, so that's our Q&A for today.
I didn't say mine!
Oh. Well, that's our Q&A for today. Go ahead.
The Greatest Showman. It's so good.
Plot holes. He joins the railroad. He doesn't join the railroad. What's going on? I don't know. Why are they living on a roof? I don't know.
They weren't living on the roof. They just did their laundry up there and they danced up there.
Oh, they danced and did their laundry up there. Gotcha.
It's a great story, even though it's not like a true story in any way, shape, or form. P.T. Barnum was actually not a very great guy.
You mean P.T. Barnum didn't break out into song and dance every 15 minutes and start? Yeah, go ahead.
Maybe he did during his shows. I don't know. So, I mean, there's a whole lot of controversy about it, and some people were actually pissed off
I'm
that
being really petty right
a
now.
movie was made about him. But taking it for what it is as a film, which is meant to entertain, I think it does that really well. I feel like the songs are really great. They're really well done. They're very... He's going to make fun of me for this later, but they bring up emotion. Like the song This Is Me, I get teary-eyed every time I hear it.
Okay.
Because it's such a good, powerful message. Like, because the whole thing with that is it's the bearded lady singing it. And she's saying, I'm finally coming to terms with, this is who I am, this is me, I'm going to be proud of who I am. And I think that that's a really important message for the world today. So
I probably could have played the bearded lady.
So I just really like it. The characters, the actors, the cinematography, it's all just really well done. So that's one that I'm going to go with.
Okay. Well, that's our Q&A this time for real. Thank you for putting up with us for probably half an hour or so.
Or
If you
longer.
have questions for us for the next Q&A, please put them in the comments below. Subscribe to the channel so you can get more film talk from us if you want it. And if you have any Q&A videos or any other videos, collection videos, also link them in the comments. We want to check them out. Let us know if you have a channel, and we will definitely check them out and comment on all your good stuff there. Until next time, I'm Lex. This is Latasha for Married Reviews. We'll catch you next time.